Welcome to Qlick Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Kindred, and we're talking people, property and places. Today we've got two Olympic stars, the softball world, Stacey Porter and Mel Roche. Thank you so much for joining us, ladies.
No worries. Good morning, Josh.
It's a big intro, isn't it? We get the air guitar out sometimes. Ladies, we're gonna talk about you guys as people. We're gonna get to know a little bit of your property journey and some of the places you've been. Kick us off. How do you know each other?
Softball.
Softball?
Yeah, we've played softball together for a really long time. So
yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's a simple answer. But yeah.
Yep. Yeah, awesome. So both obviously softball stars of Australia. It's a big fraternity. I know that the softball ladies, it's almost a community, isn't it?
Well, yeah, we've both been involved with softball for so long. So I can't believe that we have friends that really stick to us, Josh.
Yeah,
they're still around.
Still around
after all this time. Yeah.
So, ladies, when did you start softball?
I started when I was 5, so
wow.
Yeah, I played T-ball when I was 5. I grew up in country New South Wales in Tamworth,
okay,
where every kid played some sort of sport on a Saturday. So yeah, 5 years old, I was playing T-ball.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I was a little bit later. I was a bit of a netballer at that age, so I was 13, I think, when I started pitching. So.
Yeah, okay. And so Mel, you're a pitcher. That's your position?
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. And Stacey?
I'm a third base.
Okay, so explain that to me because, all right, I'm going to put this out there. I don't know anything about softball.
Yeah.
The extent of my softball knowledge is that my partner, who's also Stacey, she does this wicked pitch with the toilet rolls down the hallway. And tries to collect me in the head. So I've got to be good enough to catch them. That's about the extent of my softball knowledge. She's an old pitcher from way back. So explain what does a third base mean and talk us through being a pitcher.
Yeah, well, third base, I've got to have reactions. So I've never had a toilet roll thrown at my head, but I'd have to be pretty quick at catching it. Yeah, so they call it the hot corner.
Okay.
The ball comes pretty quick there at times. So it's my reactions is probably a lot better than Mel's.
Okay.
I think that's an age difference there.
Oh, okay.
Stace. But I'm a pitcher, Josh. So if you can just imagine a cricket bowler, maybe I'll offer up Warnie. Yep. And if you just think about their wrist snaps and how much spin he has to put on the ball, that's overhand. Well, I do that underhand without the run up.
Yeah, right. Of course.
Yeah, so it's a little bit harder to get the body parts moving.
Yeah. So, and I imagine that'd be pretty, pretty jarring on the body after a long time. You both still play?
Yeah, we do. And ask Mel because she pitched on the weekend in the first time for how long? About 8 years. And she's still
I'm
48 years of age. Sore. But I play with Dan's wife Megsy in the local comp at Brisbane softball for A3, and I thought I'll give it a go because I love it.
Get out there again.
Yeah, and I haven't been able to move really the same since. But it's Wednesday now, is it? No, is it Tuesday? Tuesday.
So you're ready for the weekend again?
Yeah. I don't know. Thank God there's a week between.
Yeah. That's what I used to say about rugby when I stopped playing sort of regularly. I'll go back and play a bit of park rugby, and thankfully there's the week between and a few beers after.
Absolutely.
Ladies, obviously that's park softball and that's today. But tell us, you've both been to the Olympics. Tell us about that and tell us about your background in I suppose Olympic softball history.
Well, we've both. We've had a good Olympic journey, I guess you could say. Josh, I've been to 4, which it kicked off in Atlanta in '96. Okay. So it was '96, and then we were in Sydney. 2000, Athens, 2004 and Beijing, 2008. And Stace joined in on that journey in Athens, right? Yeah. So I've been to 4.
Yeah,
and Stace has been to 2. Yeah.
Wow, and that's amazing. And so Olympic medals, do you have a few at home?
Yeah, we've got a few here actually. We brought them along, but so we've got between us 6. So Mel's got 4 and I've got 2, obviously. Yep. The same. 2 at Athens and Beijing. But we've got 3 bronze and a silver.
That's incredible. And so I understand that the Australian Olympic team for softball hasn't been softball hasn't been in the Olympics the last couple of games. What was that? Is that political? Why does that happen?
Yeah, I guess, the sport probably wasn't popular enough there around 2008, probably a little bit before that when we were trying to bid to get back into the Olympics. So, right. There's probably a lot more to it that we don't really know. Right. But I guess the good news is that we've secured a spot for Tokyo 2020 next year, which, there's a current group of athletes that have never experienced an Olympics before. So that's pretty cool for those.
That's amazing.
Those kids that are still around. They've stuck around pretty much since 2008, so this is a nice reward
to hopefully get in.
Yeah, it's been 12 years since the last Olympic experience. So
wind back for us, and what was it like in '96 to go to the Olympics at that first time?
Well, that was my favourite Olympics were the first one, Atlanta, and then Athens. Yep. And every Olympic Games is really different, Josh. So that first one, we were just like a kid. We were like grown women in a candy shop. And I just remember walking into that stadium in Atlanta, and it wasn't a walk; it ended up being a trot because everyone, the momentum and the enthusiasm and the yell, the sound from the crowd. Yeah. And it was our first time, and it's a very rare experience, and that's what most of these girls that Stacey hopefully is going to play with in Tokyo will get that same kind of oomph.
That's amazing.
Did you get that from real estate on some days? That big moment.
I don't know. I suppose sometimes you do, but it wouldn't be anything like going to the Olympics. And like you said, it's a once in a lifetime. Very few people get to do that. Stacey, you're obviously hoping to go to Tokyo 2020. What are the chances? Is it a sure thing or?
No, it's never a sure thing. I'd like to think it is, but there's injuries and all sorts of things. There's a few months in between now and Tokyo. So, if I stay fit and, keep going the way I'm going, I should be there. But, you just never know.
Yeah, right. So that'll be your third Olympics. What was your first Olympics like?
Yeah, mine was probably very similar to Mel's, and I think my two experiences were quite different. My first one, I was the baby of the group. I was 18, I think. And right. Yeah, very head up in the air and happy to be there. And then in 2004, it was, I guess my role within the team had changed. I was a bit more experienced, and you just probably put a little bit more pressure on yourself at that second Olympics. So I'm hoping that the third is the best one.
Yeah, excellent. And so I suppose you've now got that younger group of girls and ladies coming through. I know we had Petro Sivanasiva on one of our podcasts, and his daughter was actually, I think, in this. Is she a chance at going on and playing next year?
Not next year, no. She's a little bit younger, I think, Tallulah. Yeah, she's plays in the local Brisbane comp, but toured America last year as a part of, I think it was the under-17 Aussie Diamonds. Wow. So definitely on that path, but probably not for next year.
Yeah, excellent. And so I suppose softball across Australia, is it somewhere that's, it's quite popular in Brisbane? Is it popular across the rest of the country?
It's sort of like, I guess, I think our numbers are dropping, to be really honest with you, at the moment. And it's wonderful in a way, because it's just all these women's sports are emerging. Yeah. And so we've just got to do, we come out with actually just to get people's attention, to see how exciting and difficult our sport is. We started up something called the Summer Slam. Okay. And that, that was bright. We had the flames in the outfield. It was a big event last January, and it's happening again, I think, in February. Is it?
Yeah, this year again.
Next year.
Sorry, next year.
Yeah, so just little things like that. Get really creative with the game, and just, I think softball's like a red wine, Josh. Yeah. So it's the longer you play the sport, the better you get, because it's really difficult. Right. It's a really hard sport.
Just the technique and that the experience. That's fantastic. So let's change gears a little bit. Tell us, have you Stacey, you grew up in Tamworth.
Yep.
What was it like growing up in Tamworth?
Well, I'm in love with country music.
Okay.
I didn't have a choice with that. So.
I won't sing today. I'll save that for after.
Will I. Yeah. We'll get into it after. Yeah, no, I think Tamworth was a great town to grow up in, certainly for sports. And just as a kid, I think, there's lots of cool country kids out there that are chilled and love life. So, and certainly for sport, there was always something on a Saturday morning. Softball was, a massive sport in Tamworth back in the day. Unfortunately, it's not like that today, which is a little bit sad. But, I think it's country towns are great for having a really nice environment to grow up in, and I loved it.
Yeah, great. And Mel, whereabouts did you grow up?
I grew up in southwest Sydney in Campbelltown.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I first started playing. There was a team called Claymore Comets.
Yep.
Yeah, we used to wear knickerbockers. We made them at home.
Yep.
Our parents did anyway, so it was a long time ago.
It's sometimes when I roll my jeans up, that's what they say. I've got the knickerbockers on.
Knickerbocker. Still pull it off.
What was it like growing up in Campbelltown?
It was awesome. Back then it was Housing Commission.
Yep.
That's where we moved. But at the back of our estate, we just had this, the hills. We roamed. We played in creeks. And, when you do a lot of that play, Josh, you pick up a lot of athletic ability.
Yeah.
And I think that's just, we were so active because we had space.
And I suppose so often I've got a few young kids, and letting them go and play in that type of capacity, we try to hold them in, and it really does change the way that they're growing up, doesn't it? I think
sure does.
It was as much as we're always part of a community, whether you're in a country town or housing community. You're sort of, I don't know, when I grew up, you felt like you're just playing, and I think that was a big part of growing up in a sporting background, and it obviously led you guys onto bigger and better things. Tell us what made you move to Brisbane? What made you move to Southeast Queensland?
Well, we were living in Sydney together, weren't we? And then we just wanted something different, a change of environment, and we had some close friends up here in Brisbane in the softball community, and I think that's we were just like, yep, let's go. We were based in Japan at the time.
Okay.
We bought a house off the internet. We'll get into that, I'm sure. And then post 2008 moved up to Brizzy, and we're still here, and we probably will never leave.
What made you go to Japan?
I had wanted to go to Japan, Josh, for about 8 or 10 years. So even when I finished college and there was I went to Oklahoma State University, and there was a pitcher there who went directly from college over and played professionally in Japan.
Right.
And her name was Michelle Smith. And I just wanted to go into that area because it was so exciting. But I didn't get an offer for about 10 years. So it was a lot of waiting around and dreaming, I think you said before, the dream goes when you let go of it.
Yeah,
I like that. I didn't let go of it.
Yeah, nice work.
And I ended up playing there for 11 years.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. So we both play in Japan.
So you both played in Japan?
Yeah, I'm still current.
Awesome.
And Mel's back at Brisbane softball.
Yeah. So Stacey, you're still playing in Japan?
Yeah. So I've just finished. I've been back just nearly 2 weeks today, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, so season's over.
Awesome. So you're over there while the World Cup was on.
I was.
And what's the season like in Japan?
Yeah, so it's a split season.
It's quite popular over there, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's all company based. So we're my company is a transport company, and we play against the likes of Toyota and Honda, and sort of there's hospital owned teams. There's all sorts of it's big business over there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a split season. We go sort of from the end of March to June, and then have a break in the middle. That's generally because it's the wet season in Japan.
Okay.
Head back at the end of August and sort of finish around this time. The finals are not next week, the week after, which we didn't make. So.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So now it's on to basically do you go back to Japan before the Olympics or?
Yes. So I'll head back at the end of March next year and spend a little bit of time there, and then into Olympic preparation after that.
Awesome. And so you mentioned that you bought a house while you were in Japan in Brisbane. And so had you lived in Brisbane before?
No.
So you bought a house in Brisbane while you were living in Japan.
Yeah, it's a really good story actually, Josh, because we were looking around in Sydney. Sydney was quite expensive, still is expensive. Yep. And we're looking in inner city at that stage. We're going back like 10, 11 years, and it was even a 2-bedroom house at that stage was a little bit expensive. So we end up shifting out to Stafford. That was affordable. Yep. But we just purchased this house literally off the internet. We hadn't viewed it. We didn't know anything about that particular suburb.
Yep.
And when we arrived there, keen as beans to get the keys, we're like, where's the storage space?
Oh, no.
We were looking around. There was one little hole in the wall. I was like,
we still own a storage unit.
and we had all this stuff. We've still got the storage unit.
Yeah. So you so what? I suppose back in 2008, what did it look like buying a property? It's 12 years ago nearly, and I suppose you just look at the photos, and was it staged?
Yeah.
Were they good photos? Was it accurate representation?
Beautiful photos. You guys do a really good job with that.
Yeah, not misleading at all.
But you know what? We call it our shack. So like we call it the Stafford Shack.
Yeah.
And we love it. It's with
we
slow
did have
maintenance.
A friend go through it. We didn't just
that's true too.
scroll and point. Yeah, we had a friend that we trusted that went through it, and her advice was I would live in it with my family. So we were like,
that's good.
Done.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so I like that, because in property I often say that people want to buy from friends. And so if you don't trust your real estate agent, you send somebody else along. Yeah. And I think like we want to do that with everything. We want to buy from friends.
Yeah.
It's a weird concept, but it's something that I think in general, if you think about buying, it's usually off the back of a recommendation. It's random, it's a side story here at the moment. I'm going a little bit walkabout, but there's these new rings at the moment, and I don't like jewelry, but they tell you, they measure when you're sleeping, and small old man's got one of these, and he goes, Josh, you got to get one. So righto, so now I'm buying one because he's told me to go buy one. So that's just what we do. And so even right up to property, if the real estate agent's sort of a friend of yours, you more or less will move ahead with the purchase.
Oh, definitely, trust.
Guys, that's interesting that you're still there. No aspirations to move on. You just love being there, and you're still traveling around the world, I suppose.
Yeah, so I think it's a bit hard because we are still so active and travelling, and we've got quotes to knock it down and rebuild it. We've got quotes to put a pool in it, and we haven't done any of it. So we're pretty happy in our little shack in Stafford. I think with over time things will change a little bit, and we certainly have said that we don't want to move, or we want to keep that property where they're at Stafford. We're happy to sit on it.
Yeah, cool. It's certainly an up and coming area. Over the last 10 years, there's been a lot of growth in Stafford. So well done. It was a good suburb to choose.
Sleepy Stafford, we call it.
Guys, what's the favourite place you've ever been? You travelled all around the world. University in the States. You live in Japan sometimes now. You're from country New South Wales. What's your favourite place?
It's always such a big question, isn't it? When you travelled so much. I guess Italy is a favourite, but also Queenstown, like that southern land of New Zealand. I just couldn't believe how fresh and it felt. How pristine it is, and I can see myself living there. Yeah. When the world goes to hell, I'm going to Queenstown.
Mel, I'm going to start running a tally, because I asked this question of most our guests, and Italy comes up more than any other place. Yeah. I've got to know why. I think I'm going there early next year. Tell me why.
Have you been there?
No, I've never been.
Never been there. Yeah. Stacey, you've played there?
Yeah, I lived there for a year, and Italy was going to be my number one as well, closely followed by Canada. But I think it's a mix of the location and the scenery and the food. Okay. Yeah, I just love sitting on a hilltop drinking a vino with a buffalo mozzarella beside me. Yeah, I think it's
pretty
a bit
cruisy
of everything.
Italian.
Sounds quite simple, doesn't it? But
cruisy.
just really, I don't know. That's cool.
Well, all their produce is so fresh and simple but tasty. Yeah. And then you've just got the wine and this, this
the nighttime
cypress trees, and it's just
So they sleep through the day. And
what's your favourite place in Italy? For those that have been to Italy, what's your favourite place?
I spent a lot of time in Verona because I played a couple of softball seasons there, and especially Old Town Verona with the cobblestone streets. And I've got some friends who know all the secret joints for pizzas and pastas, and I'd love to go
that
back.
Local insight.
Yeah.
Stace, what's your favourite place in Italy?
Cinque Terre.
Okay.
Yeah, the little 5 towns that you can sort of travel. You can walk between them if you're feeling active, or you can catch a boat around them. So they're all sort of those little 5 different towns that I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, cool. So off the back of next Olympics for you, Stacey, are you gonna go back and play some park softball, or do you think you'll keep playing in Japan?
I still play park softball, I still play at Brisbane on a Saturday, but I will head back to Japan. I'm obviously going to be a long time retired, and the lifestyle is too enjoyable at the moment, and I still love the game. So plan is to head back there as long as they'll have me.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. And so what do you do now, Mel, post softball?
I've just I'm doing a master training course at a company called the Optimization Hub, and that's all. And it's right down my alley. It's all about mental resilience and performance and optimizing your performance in sport and other areas like military, in businesses and things like that. And then it's run by a lady called Graziella Thake, and she's really dynamic. It's like everything. It's just a really good fit for me at the moment post-career. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Buzzing.
And so what do you see yourself, where do you see yourself making a difference?
Well, just everywhere. I from school children, up to elite athletes. And as for me particularly, it's a passion is just women in sport at the moment. I just think, we're a bit untapped and it's all emerging and growing really quickly and just tapping into that, and I'm really excited. Yeah,
awesome. So let's put it on the table right now. Like, why is it that, apart from the obvious, the dollars that go into men's sport, what's the thing that's holding female sport back? Be as contentious as you like.
Yeah, it's often like we get this a lot. Yeah, well, it's good to reflect on because through my entire career, it wasn't the money. When I really, really think about it, Josh, it wasn't the money, it wasn't the sponsors, it wasn't about that. It was that when I look at men's sports and you've got, 80,000 people cheering you on and you have an exchange, because that impacts your performance. And so we've missed out on that impact from the society, from the community, or that exchange of spirit.
Yeah.
And that's what I missed out on. That's what I just really, really get angry about, that I didn't have that. We got it, at the Olympic Games, that gave it to us, and some local tournaments, but not on the level that male athletes experience.
Yeah, okay.
So that's, and along with that, then the money comes. But initially it's just getting that, that whole big feeling, that big stadium feeling, and it impacting your performance and you performing like you've never before.
Finding another level.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like helping each other. And women athletes have missed out on that.
Yeah, that's a really interesting perspective. I suppose that community feel, but just
massive.
Really bringing a crowd along to find another level of performance.
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
What's probably the biggest crowd that you've played in front of? Would it have been in America or?
Yeah. Was it? It's usually the Olympic Games, although in Japan,
Beijing at the Olympics.
Beijing.
And to be fair, they probably half of them didn't know what they were screaming about, but they were trucked in, bussed in. They all had the same hat and same shirts on, but they were making
a lot of noise. Were they wearing the green and gold?
A lot of noise.
It wasn't green and gold, but the stadium was full. So, it was hard. You have to sort of combat that stuff sometimes by figuring out ways to communicate and stuff.
But you trade that in for intimacy too with the smaller diamonds. Like we used to play in a tournament in Vancouver at the Canada Cup. And it was just this tiny ballpark with all these big, big trees, big surrounding. We used to laugh that the bears were going to come out or try and hit the bear on the head with a home run.
Yeah.
But that was like we still had big emotion in that little park. So we haven't missed out entirely. We've had special moments.
Yeah, that makes sense. Stacey, for you, what is it is it the same? Is it that big crowd feeling that sort of is missing in female sports, or what is it that you think will make a huge difference?
Yeah, obviously I feel the same as Mel does in that respect, and I think it's just being a little bit undervalued. It was fantastic that Ash Barty won that tournament on the weekend, and that's the biggest prize money that tennis has ever seen. So I think I don't really, it gets up my goat that we get undervalued a little bit, and we're probably not seen as good at stages. So, that's probably my response. I won't go into it as much as Mel is. She can articulate a bit better than I can, but that's probably the main thing for me.
Well, I think, it's just something that sort of just happens, isn't it? In Australian society, listening to you guys, it pisses me off a little bit as well now. We don't talk about it, so that's what I'm saying. Like, let's talk about it because I'm thinking about it. I've got a daughter, and I hope that she goes on and plays sport in some capacity. And I want her to experience all the things that I did in sport, and that that males do as well. And that sort of pisses me off a little bit. So, it's probably good to have the conversations as much as anything, isn't it?
That's exactly right, Josh. And if you think about human spirit at that really pure level, it's gender, unrelated. Yeah. It's not male, it's not female, it's just human spirit.
Of course.
So that's what needs to grow, and I hope your daughter has that chance. I'm sure she will.
Yeah, that's excellent. Ladies, tell us what's the next sort of, apart from the Olympics, what's the next big thing for you guys? What else is on the radar?
What have we got?
I've got personally, Josh. I've got Panthers A3, Brisbane softball.
So how do we get down? How do we get down and watch that?
Downy Park every Saturday.
Downy Park.
Yeah. Come and watch the red and the black.
Yeah, Dan's, just follow Dan.
Yeah. So Dan's our CFO, and his wife plays softball as well, and so that's how we've been able to get you lovely ladies along. Tell us, what's it like to have an Olympic medal at home, and in your case, a few guys have got a handful. What's it like to have them, and have you got them with you right now?
Yeah, we do. We actually had to turn around and go back and get them. But
and then we had a fight whether we bring 4 or 6.
So did you bring 4 or 6?
There was Stacey one. We just bought the 4.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
Stacey one.
4.
You conceded. She didn't win.
No, I did.
Which ones did you bring in? Are we going to get them out, or
if you want? Well, Mel's got all 4, and I've obviously got 2 of the same that she's got. So.
Right.
But they kind of just sit in the drawers at home. We kind of.
In a safe.
Really
they're really tucked away in a safe.
They're not just on the kitchen bench or anything, but it's funny, we kind of don't know really
what to do with
them. Yeah, other than hide them, because people steal them at times.
Do they mean a lot to you, or is it the experience that means more?
Oh, I think the experience. Yeah, I mean, they sit in a safe.
Here they are. You can hear them rattle around.
Yeah, can I have a look? I'm going to try to describe this. Yeah. Well, it's quite heavy, isn't it?
Yeah, they're quite
heavy.
And
they're also different.
Yeah.
I'll let you have a couple.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
Oh, gotcha. Are they precious so you don't bash them around? All right, so we got the Beijing one here. They're all quite different, aren't they?
Yeah. They're quite. Well, the one thing that I do remember from '96, Josh, is the ribbon around the Atlanta medal is quite coarse, so we all had neck chafe.
Yeah, right.
Partying in them. I'm not taking it off.
Post-Olympics, don't they?
That's fantastic. And so, who do we beat to get into to win these?
What are we?
Atlanta.
We beat Japan to get into the bronze medal game, and then we lost to China.
Okay.
Stace, you want to do Athens?
Athens is
so
silver. That was our best result, the silver.
Yeah,
we beat Japan to make the gold medal match and lost to the US in the gold medal match. Yeah, they were described as the dream team after that Olympics. They're amazing.
That would have been an amazing event to be at Athens against America in a gold medal game. Were you nervous?
Yeah, it was, and they were so dominant, Josh. Like, I've played international softball for 16 years or something, and there's never been a team like that team. Like, they were just, it was like the dream team.
Yeah.
And they had not had one run scored against them, and we had 5. I won't go into the technicalities of it, but we had really, really short games against them because they scored that many runs. And then we were up against them in the gold medal game, and it wasn't until about the 5th or the 6th inning, and it was Stace who got a hit that scored the only run against them.
Oh, wow.
So in the last hour or the last minute of the entire event, we just snuck a run in across the plate with a big sliding hand. But that was pretty special because they were pretty good. And we only lost. It was a 5-1 score, which is
Did you think going into the game that you were a chance?
Yeah, I was actually asked this in a recent podcast, and I said, well, yeah, because you don't go into a game not thinking you don't have a chance, and I've always said that anything can happen on a softball diamond, and it does at times, which is scary. But yeah, I was always hopeful. They were fairly dominant and hard to come across, but it was nice to score the 1 run, I guess. What
are the chances in Tokyo 2020?
Well, I think that obviously you can see a couple of bronzes and a silver there. There's obviously a colour missing. And with the way the world softball's gone over the last 12 years, I think that it's become a lot closer.
Okay.
There's only 6 teams in this next Olympics, whereas the past has always been an 8-team competition. So I think just to get there was a really big feat for us, and something that we can draw on. We had a really good tournament at the the Asia Oceania qualifier at the end of September, which, you know, we were never guaranteed that spot. We had to earn it. So, I think just world softball across the board at the moment is quite even, if I could say that. So I think I was asked who's going to win what medal, and I said, I don't know. It could go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Do many of the Australian team that will be playing next year, do they play in Australia, or are they mostly in Japan, or a little bit in America? Are they all around the world?
Yeah, no, there's just 3 of us that play in Japan professionally. And then I think all of the other girls all hold down full-time jobs and train outside of that. Yeah, so that's a tough thing for them to do. So that's another level of respect I have for them, that they get up at 5:30, go to the gym, go to work all day, and come home and train. So
I was going to say, just listening to that, I was thinking that's so inspirational. You know, you could get that story across to Australia. I think that that story is not told enough, is it?
No, not at all.
Well, you guys still, at the moment, it's been happening for a little bit, but they pay. You still have a levy. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, we still have player levies
to play for Australia.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
No way.
And in this day and age,
and that's obviously because our funding was cut post Beijing. So we've struggled for a long time, but that's where the love of the game comes in, I guess.
And it's one of those things that if you got the funding, you'd probably have the team would be a better chance of performing, and a better chance of performing, you'd have more followership. It's pretty simple, isn't it?
That's how it works.
But it starts with the funding, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, it starts with, I guess it does, if you've got the love of the game, so you're not spoiled, you don't expect anything, and then you get the funding, I think that you're much more appreciative of that and respect the funding. Yeah. You know, you hold on to it pretty tight and you try to perform for the funding.
To keep doing to keep making your dream real.
Yeah.
Just creates opportunities.
Ladies, thank you so much. Stacey Porter, we'll be keeping an eye out for you in Tokyo 2020. Mel Roche, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure doing a podcast with both you lovely ladies. Thanks for bringing the medals in.
No worries.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks ladies.
Josh.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for the chat.